Sachin we used to work literally at the desk next to ours. So he'd be coding away at his own startup, which was a back-end cloud infra startup. And I think that startup wasn't um, you know, going anywhere at that time. And Matt also was thinking that it would be better for him if he was to be back in Boston, where his family was, where his girlfriend was going to be, and he was also suffering for I think he needed to be there for multiple personal reasons. So I was solopreneuring it, not really to a large extent, because Sachin was right there, and Matt was actually involved in helping recruit Sachin as well into the whole vision. So Matt made sure that there was continuity and that the company would be in good hands.
That's huge.
That is massive. Actually, many early stage startups suffer from movement of co-founders. This is something I've seen now as I invest in angels as well, is that 1 out of 3 co-founders will, on an average, leave. And I think that's completely fine. It's at a very early formative stage. And, people are defining their interpersonal equations and also understanding if this is for them or not. And it's normal for that movement to really happen before it stabilizes somewhat.
Yeah. Especially when they're in their 20s and there's
absolutely
so much,
right. There's just so much of uncertainty in life. But I think the good co-founders do it amicably, and they do it in a way that ensures that the company goes into a good place, regardless of personal outcomes. You always put the company first.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And I think you guys would have been, you were 27 at that time?
I think I was 26 or something like that.
Yeah. And whereas Sachin, I think, was a little bit older, right?
Yeah. He was the adult in the room. He was in his mid-30s and
had kids. Ex-Google.
Yeah.
Had quite a bit of experience under his belt.
Yeah.
I've heard that he was sort of like an engineering or like coding guru. Like he was just like a genius. When he joined, everybody was just shocked by what he was capable of.
Yeah, I mean, I still think he's an engineering genius. He certainly was back then. And relative to complete freshers and interns and people who hadn't really built production systems before of any scale, he was like an absolute, level 10 guru of sorts. I remember one of the first few things he did at some point, I think about a month in, he was like, okay, Tushar, I hate to tell you this, but I'm going to do, RM minus RF. It's like, okay, wait a minute. You're going to do what? He's like, I'm going to delete all the code. I'm rewriting this shit. You guys have built something that's not going to scale beyond a few thousand people. And it's okay to demo the website, but this is not a production system. That made me very nervous because we were gearing up towards an actual public launch. And we'd raised a bunch of capital. But it was the right call.
Yeah.
And when we rewrote the stack, and I think that initial foundation still continues today. It was a very good call.
Yeah, he was like an expert at building things for scale, right? He had worked on Gmail, exactly. I think also Orkut as well. Yeah. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. We didn't use it in Canada when I was growing up.
Yes, exactly.
So very experienced.
I think you need experience, but you also need some level of foolishness to, I think, get a startup going properly. Because I think while he brought in a lot of experience for building for scale, fundamentally his approach would be left by himself would therefore be slow in its nature, right? Because you're really building for millions of people scale. And because I didn't know any better, my approach was, let's launch yesterday. Let's break things. Let's move fast. I mean, we can't keep waiting and, time's running out. And so I think that created this healthy tension, where me and Sachin would often fight about deadlines and timelines, where my timeline was always yesterday. And he was, he wanted to make sure that he builds a system which is 99.9% stable. My threshold for stability was far lower because I was coming from a place where the stability was 50%. So, but that healthy tension between two co-founders is very, very good. It's something I've seen. I think the best co-founders are those where one is really building in a lot of demand or anticipated demand, and the other person's holding very high bar on quality and standards. And somewhere, there exists a plane where they barely meet. And I think that's an exciting high tension, high velocity plane to be at.